Gatekeeping is morally correct by Alcoholic Horse. Alcoholichorse49. Huh. It should have made 69. Anyways. Yeah, we're going in. Also, please consider liking and subscribing. I appreciate it. Yeah.
I love Catwoman.
All I can say is that yes, gatekeeping is always morally correct. See, here's the thing. Your hobby can go two routes. It can be destroyed by others, or it can be self-destructed. And if I had a choice, I'd always choose the self-destruction before other people go in. So here's the thing. The people that play the Pokemon card game didn't gatekeep, which gave rise to the scalpers. Actually, any hobby that includes, in any way, shape, or form, any community, any hobby, that includes any way, shape, or form of buying something, did not gatekeep, resulting in scalpers. Anime. We can take Uma Musume, for example. Did not gatekeep. Now a very small minority of like 11% of the player base will harass you if you ship the male trainer with the Honses. So there's that, right? Always the Yuri retards. It is always very interesting how tourists enter a fandom and then destroy it, because this is especially apparent in anime, right? You have like people who joined during the pandemic and then realized they didn't like what they were seeing, and were like, instead of like being like a reasonable adult, they said like, you know, I don't like this. I'm not interested. I'm gonna leave. They were like, yeah, I hate it, so it must be changed. And now we're here. Now we're here with like Crunchyroll out here changing localizations and people calling characters something that they are not, even if the creator of that franchise confirmed that they are something else. And it's like, yeah, it's just weird.
So much, but I wish more men focused more on the fact that she's using what these men seek. In this case, it would be sexual objectification, and using it against them. Added with the fact that she protects sex workers and the exploited, it adds way more weight to this scene. Brilliant analysis of this scene, Miss Bucky Barnes Impregnator. Let's do a quick bio check, and there it is. Give me my
Give me my money. Yeah, the moment you see pronouns, you can immediately tell that this person is likely not reasonable. I'm sorry for the reasonable pronoun gang. It's better you just remove them. Even if you want to keep them, just remove them, because you're going to be lumped in with these people. You're not escaping.
money. Tourists are a plague that I've seen roll through fan bases of everything I've ever enjoyed in their incessant quest to unshitify everything they touch. A lot of people make the mistake of assuming that tourists are people who don't know anything about a fan base or a piece of media, and that's not true. In fact, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Tourists will pretty much always be armed with surface level knowledge to throw at you to prevent their cover from being blown. It's basically the IQ bell curve meme, but for nerd shit.
The anime guy also confused tourist with something entirely with like newbies, right? A tourist is not necessarily a newbie to something, and a newbie is not a tourist. That is, those are not the same. They're not even they're not mutually exclusive. I guess a newbie can be a tourist, but not every newbie is a tourist, and not every tourist is a newbie. See, the problem is that these people, they have the surface level knowledge. They also just consume the mainstream media, which is why they're outraged when they see something that's been there long before they have ever been there, and they're angered. This is mostly, unfortunately, in the case of people that consume shonen anime. That's why we have the terminology of hood weeps. That's where that comes from, because those are mostly tourists. Because they would call anything that isn't Dragon Ball PDF stuff. It's very interesting.
Case in point, the tweet we just saw. Newbies to a fanbase will see this animation and be like, the writers obviously just did this to create an excuse for us to see Catwoman's tits. But the midwit tourist will be like, of course stupid stoic men failed to see the deeper meaning in this scene. When Catwoman unzipped her suit, it was actually the writers using her to mock sexual objectification. Yeah, she sure owned those men who like looking at tits, but...
Yeah, it's like, oh, you want to combat sexual objectification? Ah, yes, let's sexualize me. It's like, that doesn't make sense, right? Wouldn't it be the reverse? Right? You're not. It's like trying to be feminist while at the same time having an OF. It's like trying to own the men, but you have an OF, right? It makes sense.
Unzipping her suit and showing them her tits. And the simplest interpretation of this scene circles back around to the writers just created an excuse to see Catwoman's tits. A lot of DC writers are certified freaks and I'd have it no other way. Cry all you want, but people are going to keep criticizing the Orientalism in The Legend of Zelda. It's something people should have.
Oh no, don't remind me. We had somebody crash out on The Legend of Zelda over the way the Gerudo look, right? We had that, right? This is not the same person, but there is another person, right? That had a complete meltdown on the way the Gerudo look, and I'm like, this is fiction, big guy. Or big girl in this case. That is fiction. It ain't that deep. They're Gerudo. That's all there is to it, right? And then they had a second crash out when it was announced that there's supposedly a Ocarina of Time remake coming. It's horrible.
Have in mind, you know, being critical, criticizing what you enjoy is the most mature thing you can do in these cases. Nobody's saying to cancel The Legend of Zelda or anything. Alright guys, let's check the bio. I'm thinking he, they. Every damn time.
All of them. He, she, they. I am all, and therefore I am nothing. Funny.
Bring me my money. These people aren't just newbies or surface level fans. Tourists are infected with the corrosive stat. These people filter everything through their own lens and act like the destroyers of racism while branding their side as the basic decency side. There's a difference between critiquing and nitpicking. This idiot might argue that destroying these racial stereotypes is a hill worth dying on. The millions of copies sold to every color of human being on this earth would beg to differ. No one cares. Nobody's saying to cancel.
I guess these people are just it's virtue signaling, right? These people are just virtue signaling. They're doing this to virtue signal. That's essentially all they are in fact doing, right? They're virtue signaling. And once that's no longer a big thing, they move, right? It's always, I support the current thing. We need to realize this. I mean, we've seen it with all the wars. People were like, mostly rightfully so, supporting Ukraine, right? Then they were supporting Gaza. After that became not longer interest, that they were supporting Iran. Because let's say it the way it is. It's mostly leftist. And like, and essentially, like, they're screaming like queers for Iran, and I'm like, you know what they would do to you? Do you understand what you're saying? Are you stupid?
The Legend of Zelda or shit. That's what leftists said about everything they touched. Then it led to censorship. Fuck off. Yeah, what that guy said. People like this aren't that dangerous on their own. In a vacuum, they're just losers screaming into the void. I guess I also fit that description, but at least I don't pretend that isn't the case. The real damage is only done when companies decide to listen to the screeching. So this clown privated his tweet, but before that, it was basically him quote retweeting this guy and saying, wah wah, examples or fuck off. I'm sorry to say that we might have just run the only North Sentinelese person off of Twitter, because that's really the only way you couldn't see the rampant censorship in everything on every platform.
Yep. Newest case. I've never played Doki Doki Literature Club. I know it's hugely popular with people. Removed from the Google Play Store because it was going against TOS. And now if they want to release it again, they have to censor it. And chances are, they likely will. Which is pretty sad, to say the least. but it might actually happen, and it is incredibly frustrating that it might actually happen, and I hate it. I don't play it, but I hate it because I hate censorship. I'm hugely, for example, right? There was this huge discussion on Corin on Twitter. I'm hugely anti Corin, hugely. I want it gone, best case, but I'm not gonna ban it because first of all, you don't solve the problem. You just move it where nobody can see it, which is even worse because that creates worse conditions for the women being quote unquote groomed into it, if you want to call it that. That's why I'm not for the banning of it because that doesn't help. You need to change people's minds. That is the best way you can do it. And also because it's a slippery slope and it will lead into more censorship and things getting censored that you do not want. That's all there is to it.
Absolute gang banging this guy was forced into because of this.
It means that if these people, right, these same people are gonna advocate for censorship, eventually they're gonna be hit with censorship, right? Because they're never gonna, it's never gonna stop at just like like the small things being censored. It's always gonna spiral into bigger.
Tweet is not something I would wish on my worst enemy. Some of these things I didn't even notice back then. Like, I remember Sanji's lollipop. I remember Rouge having her tits lopped off. But is this supposed to be Lady? That Netflix animation might have the same characters as Devil May Cry. It might have the same name as Devil May Cry, but it's not Devil May Cry. It's a skinwalker wearing it to lure in unsuspecting fans into watching a completely different show. We also have the beach scene in Persona 3 where Junpei realizes the girl he's talking to is a man, and they all book it, and in this new scene, I guess they just, ignore it. That was much more in character, and now they just don't do it. In Persona 5 Royale, the Japanese version was mostly left untouched.
See, it's also like, with localization, right? You look at like localization, for example, even for voice acting, right? You can particularly see that if you compare the voice acting from Nier Automata, JP voice acting, EN voice acting, and you will realize they're not just localization wise different characters, but also voice, like when it comes to the voice, completely different characters. It gets even worse when you look at like Crunchyroll localization for sub and dub, or like for like actual sub and English sub, and like you can tell that something's completely off because they're not using specific things anymore. Words, they self-insert ideologies. Like for example, there was a case where they inserted male fragility. Uma Musume, the Christmas was completely removed and inserted with happy holiday. Weird shit. We've also had it with, I forgot what it was. Yes, it's interesting, right? Two games. One game releases on two different platforms. On the PlayStation, it's censored. Oddly enough, on the more family-friendly platform, the Nintendo Switch, it's not censored. It is very interesting what we're doing here.
But this time around, not even the home country version was spared. We are changing your favorite media to ensure that it meets social awareness guidelines. Please, do not resist. Detractors in this thread might argue that not all of the examples lead to censorship, like with Cammy's Street Fighter outfit or that god-awful extra credits video. These people fail to realize that an article being made by Kotaku or IGN or whoever holds more weight than a random tweet. See, these people often have direct lines of communication to developers, allowing them to seed change in ways that normal people can't. And unlike getting yelled at by random people, these devs have the power to negatively affect these developers' livelihood. Obviously, these devs are going to listen a bit more to the people writing the articles on their games. Oh, this game doesn't have any trans-Filipino paraplegic representation? What a shame. It's such a good game, but the best I can do is 5 out of 10 and an article title framed to make people not want to buy your game. This leads to perfectly serviceable games like Hogwarts Legacy, getting slammed by influencers in the media for something that the game developers
Oh, I don't know if he is aware of this, but the Hogwarts Legacy thing is a completely different can of worms, right? We had content creators being put on blacklists and hit lists and harassment campaigns, even harassed VTubers into graduation because they were playing Hogwarts Legacy, and therefore they are at fault for trans people, quote unquote, dying, which doesn't happen, but they oddly enough wish it would, which is very weird, but like, eh.
Have nothing to do with and has no bearing on the state of the actual game itself. It sucks to be a Warhammer fan, because you gotta come to terms with like 70% of the fandom being edgy chuds. I don't even have to open the box.
You don't have to open the bio. What is the flag with the pink, purple, and blue? I forgot what it was. Let me actually go on a little identity hunt here. Let's see what flag that is. Let me Google it. What is this? Bisexual. Well, I can't really say anything, but trans bisexual. So it's just I'm assuming this is a bisexual man and a communist, which is even worse. This is a commie. This is a commie. Their opinions don't matter.
Bio this time around. We gotta shut down the lab making these people. It's getting out of hand. The commie troon and shark emoji with the bisexual flag as a cherry on top. Karl Marx beat his wife, by the way. Ain't no way this guy walked into the edgy chud trademark fan base and started on some, I really wish Warhammer would be more sensitive. Like, the Imperium slaughtering all aliens is low-key giving bigotry. Separating yourself from the fan base makes sense. Warhammer's not immune to having fans that make you ashamed to buy even a single figure. I'm not buying a single figure because I'm not paying $100 for fucking plastic. But a commie troon guy complaining about Warhammer fans is like a guy shooting up heroin, getting mad at someone for smoking a cig next to him. Matter of fact, I guarantee you this guy is a Tau fan. Not to mention the first post on the profile is this guy referring to trans surgeries on kids as the literal coolest thing ever. You know, I couldn't have created a better specimen to make fun of if I tried. If you'd kindly redirect your gaze to the chart, you'll find what experts call
This is yeah, this thing, right? Bayonetta. This is gross objectification. It's for insults. Actually, it's fun. Let us enjoy it to insult. Actually, this is for the girlies. This always belonged to us. You are the invaders. Which is interesting, right? Because they're always the invaders, right? These people are always the invaders. That's why Gears of War is the way it is. That's why we have weird things in Call of Duty. I've never played Call of Duty. I never will, but like, still. That's why there's weird things in Warhammer all of a sudden, like female custodies, which is like weird because they've never existed, and then they try to gaslight right, their own companies trying to gaslight everyone into thinking that that is the case, that they did always exist. Yeah, we know this. We know how this works. We know how this works.
the plan of the tourist. This diagram illustrates what happens when you let basically anyone take over a fan base, and it's not just
Yeah, anybody. What is the game? The character called in JJK? Kirara, something like that, right? The one that people say is trans and the woman. The creator came out saying that he's a man. He's a man. A dude with a cock and balls. I know, right? That's what we've been saying. That he's an Otto Konoko? Is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it in Japanese culture. I think some of it, I probably didn't really pronounce it right, but like, it's something like that, right? It's a male character that presents more feminine. They're still saying it's a girl. Going against the original source material. A classic, right? They love doing that. They love doing that.
for the girlies, but the sweat lords, casuals, people who don't read the manga or the comic. It's really an evergreen format. The Catwoman tweet from the start of the video would fit right in between stages 4 and 5, with the person in question being in the process of trying to change a story to align with their views. Warhammer is stage 6, unfortunately, especially with GW literally retconning stuff to fit a new political narrative. Warhammer was already about how horrible an isolationist authoritarian empire can be, but I guess that wasn't woke enough. When you're at stage 6, the only thing you can really do is wait for people to get bored or split off into a sub-community like Halo fans. Transformers would be about stage 3. I think the idea of robots beating the shit out of each other is so inherently masculine, combined with the fact that Hasbro hasn't really, done anything for Transformers recently. And I think both of those shield it from all the bullshit most.
Aren't they turning a female Autobot into a Prime now and sidelining Optimus? Or am I just wrong? I thought I saw something on Twitter that people were talking about that was going to happen in some way, shape, or form. I could be wrong though.
Of the time. But if Transformers 2023 gets animated, especially with all of the retards on the r/Transformers subreddits, we might have a stage 4 or even 5.
There might be a lot of trans on the r/Transformers subreddit
On our hands, especially with Robert Kirkman writing it now. In the final segment of this video, I'm just gonna throw all the...
Wait, Robert Kirkman is writing this? Well, we're gonna see how Zoe turns out, I guess. Oh, I'm getting more and more, or less and less confident in what's going on here.
Zenless tourists back here. I saw a chick on Instagram saying that the Angels of Delusion's designs were problematic. These are the Angels of Delusion. They're characters in Zenless Zone Zero, and I don't see it. I feel like I'm arguing with a Puritan woman calling me a pervert for glancing at her ankles on the escalator. Arya's a robot, so I'm not even gonna entertain that one. These conclusions scream porn addict to me. Like, these people wouldn't be satisfied until every woman in this game is wearing a hijab. Now, obviously people are gonna sexualize these characters, but I don't and never will see, but what if some weirdo jerks off to this, as a valid reason for censorship. If we had to get rid of and hide anything,
What? No way. Somebody's gonna goon to this? Shocker, I know. What are you on about? They goon to Pokemon. If you want to goon, you will goon. You will find the way. A gooner finds a way. Right? It's not life finds a way. I mean, life finds a way too, but a gooner finds a way. There's a reason that people always like worried when there's a life-size Gardevoir releasing or a life-size evolution. Chill.
One jerked off to, we'd all be walking around with blindfolds because some of these people are just fucking freaks. Just call them a freak and move on, I say. I'm not saying that these people shouldn't be allowed to say whatever about whatever. I'm just making fun of them for obviously not getting it. The vast majority of criticism I see from casuals makes sense because it's something that's actively making their experience with whatever it is worse. But these people are nitpicking shit because they don't like that other people, that you are enjoying it. They do it out of spite and hope that the devs and people with power will bend the knee and rid the community of the unsavory people who were there before they even learned about it. They aren't speaking for the people, they're speaking against a certain type of people. Always. Every time. A lot of these people have managed to weasel their way into the creation process or whip up such a shitstorm that the devs, artists, and creatives in question just want it to end, which always backfires as it just emboldens these people to try again. And these people will even go through giants like MasterCard and Visa to force people to bend the knee. The most effective...
Yeah, wasn't it, what was it called? Like to shout? I forgot what it was called. Regardless, yeah, they did target MasterCard and Visa. They did target payment processors, right? And those payment processors forced other companies to censor, like Steam or itch.io, right? They forced those to censor. There's also another problem where they're forcing Japanese businesses to censor what they're selling. It is very weird. It is odd. It is odd. You can't even like buy legal products that other people find problematic. It's weird. We're weird. We're in weird times.
Way to make them stuff a sock in it is just by ignoring them. But when they go through giants like MasterCard and Visa, sometimes that's not even an option. So in conclusion, keep bullying Netflix until they upload Steel Ball Run week by week like every other fucking service. A Stone Ocean's hype was killed because they uploaded the first half and then they waited like a year and then everybody forgot it existed and then they uploaded the second half. That was stupid. That was dumb. Why did they do that? Why does Netflix do this? I can't think of any other Netflix show that gets uploaded half season by half season. That is so weird. Why did they do that? Anyways, yeah, see ya. I love you, Pookie.
That's crazy. Yeah, however, I know an anime that was essentially, how do you put it? I know an anime that was essentially released long after its JP release, so everyone watched it before it ever released on Netflix. And then it got a dog shit Netflix dub. And now we're here. Right? A fragrant flower blooms with dignity. You were done dirty. But yeah, I agree. It's morally correct to gatekeep. Moving on.